Good morning. When I came to the computer this morning at 4 o'clock, or just a minute or two after, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I do what I sometimes do. I check my emails and my Facebook page. And about an hour ago, my friend Mitch made a post on my Facebook page. And I thought, that's what I'm supposed to talk about. The title for today is Global Protest Yesterday, and I was unaware. And I will read this much of the blurb. The blurb is longer today because I've actually copied and pasted much of what Mitch sent to me and posted on my Facebook wall, which those of you that are Facebook friends can check it and see. But anyway, I wrote, this was posted on my Facebook wall by my friend Mitch only a short time ago. About an hour ago, it says on Facebook. Did you see this on the news? He asked. I am including the entire post without the picture in the text of today's blurb. Global demonstrations were held today on Monday, 15 October in more than 950 cities in 82 countries. The global protests were part of a series of protests inspired by the Arab Spring, the Icelandic Revolution, the Portuguese Geração, Rasca, Rasca, CAO is how, I think, I don't know. The Spanish Indignants, the Greek protests, and the Occupy movement. The image was taken in Rome, where an estimated 400,000 people gathered to protest against corporate power, grinding poverty, and government cuts. Hundreds of people clashed with police for hours, leaving more than 200 people injured, including 150 police officers. 12 people were arrested. General assemblies, the social network N1, mailing lists, and Facebook were used to coordinate the global demonstrations. This very same day, one of the main Dutch newspapers declared that the Occupy movement has completely disappeared. What do you think? Has the movement vanished, or is it still alive? Has it entered a new phase? Where should it be going? How should resistance be organized and reorganized? What issues should we focus on? That's all I'm going to read. Although I do notice in some of the further part that I post, it's Amy Goodman's. It's Russia Today, Democracy Now with Amy Goodman, and Free Speech Radio News. There's a whole bunch of links that are provided, and those links will be in the blurb so that anybody that wants to click on them can do so. But I clicked on the map of where the demonstrations were, and it's really interesting that Europe is completely covered with the push pin things. So the entire continent of Europe, with the exception of the Ukraine, and it looks like there's maybe a couple of demonstrations in northwestern Russia, the St. Petersburg area perhaps, and all of Western Europe is totally covered with demonstrations. Australia has a bunch of them. New Zealand has a demonstration. All over South America and all over the Western North America, stretching from up in fairly northern Canada and Alberta, I guess that is, all the way down into Mexico and a little bit on the eastern part of the country, and only one in the central part of the country. It looks like probably Chicago or maybe south of Chicago. My point, and then South Korea. My point is, they were global, and I knew nothing about it. Thank God for the alternative news. I read an article yesterday about mainstream media is losing their coverage. The most important network today, as far as viewership goes, is Russia Today. And most of the congressmen in the United States, it said, actually subscribe to Russia Today because the mainstream media doesn't report what's really happening. And you know, if it wasn't for the internet, most of us wouldn't know what's going on in our own world because our media does not serve the people. The mainstream media, by far and large, serves the corporate interests. And the people, according to this report that I just cited and was posted on my page, the people are waking up all over, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, into the millions, no doubt, of people protested yesterday. I was, for someone that prides himself in being aware, I was not aware of what was going on. In fact, in my meditation this morning, before I came to the computer, I was feeling, boy, it's so quiet. So peaceful. Nothing's happening. And that's the sense. That was the sense. Even as I didn't pick up the globe this morning, but as I looked at the globe, I felt a sense of peace. Now, is that sense of peace because my mind interprets it as nothing happening? Or is that sense of peace because I know that things are being taken care of and the change is in the works? I would rather believe the latter. Now, I know there's a lot of people, including friends of mine, that don't believe that we're turning anything around. They believe that the controllers will continue to be the controllers, and they're too powerful to not be in charge of the world. They're too powerful. I'm sorry. This is not, and people were asking the question about spiritual warfare. Some people are still pushing for Armageddon. It's a different kind of battle. It's a battle for consciousness. It's a battle for awareness. The battle is, are we going to wake up? That's the Armageddon. It has nothing to do with weapons of warfare as we have known weapons of warfare. It has to do with spiritual weapons of warfare, which is information. This war is being fought on the information front, where well it should be, to make people aware of how the world is run and what's really happening, that the whole financial crisis is a contrived crisis created by the powers that want to rule the world. The men and some women that want to control every aspect of human society everywhere on the planet. They want to own all the resources and take ownership of property away from every individual. Don't even, they'll allow them to share it as long as they do what they're supposed to do. Well, people don't want to be put into that prison anymore. We've been in that prison for generations without even knowing it in most cases, except for a relative small handful of people. But yesterday's demonstrations proved that there's no longer a relative small handful of people. For everyone that protested, I'll bet you there's at least 5 to 10 other people that know about it and are aware of the problem. Maybe many, many more. I don't know what the numbers are. But the discontent is part of the awakening. The fact of protest is part of sending a message to the powers that want to be. They know that the people are waking up. They know this. And it's a good thing for us, and they see it as a bad thing, and they can't stop it. If they could stop it, they would, but they can't. And it's interesting that the concentrations are centered in Europe and North America primarily. They're the two largest areas where the protests occurred yesterday. And these are the areas where the problems exist, because these are the areas that the leadership of the world comes from. I didn't see any post for Japan, which was interesting. I would think that Japan would have had some protests. Well, I'm wondering if that one isn't Japan, northern Japan. Now that I'm looking at it, I identified it first as South Korea, but it might actually be Japan, uh, because of course they're right across from each other, and uh, the point of the push point might actually be northern Japan or in Japan. In any case, these are the places that the world governments, the New World Order, is trying to establish from. And this is the very heart of the demonstrations, the very heart of it. And of course, yesterday the court opened up on the crimes against humanity by what was his name? Arnett. Peter, is it Peter Arnett? Uh, anyway, the fellow from, I believe he's from Canada, that served warrants on the Pope and many others. I mean, that I was aware that started at the World Court yesterday, and they even served papers on the Queen of England. Things are happening. I don't know what the tipping point's going to be where it breaks into all the news and the whole world wakes up to what's going on. But I'm looking for it to happen yet this month. October has always been a significant month for me. Not only was I born in October, uh, October has had many milestones throughout the years uh, of being filled with the Holy Spirit and spiritual high points in my journey toward awakening myself. It has been a very significant month for me. And it's also been a significant month for financial collapses throughout history, especially the 20th century. Uh, the Black Mondays and Black Fridays and all the other things. Anyway, it's fascinating to me to come to the computer this morning and to see once again, signs of awakening. On the Republic call last night, there's recognition that they really don't have any clout with most of the people in the United States. Most of the people in the United States don't even know that RUSA exists. And it was suggested that if Ron Paul, for example, starts to restore the Republic and creates a movement here in the United States to reestablish the Republic, the public will, by far and large, be behind Ron Paul, and RUSA and all of the other Republic movements will be left in the shadows. And I'll tell you the truth. If Ron Paul began to create a viable movement to reestablish the Republic in the United States, I'm on board. It doesn't matter if I'm Secretary of State of Florida in RUSA. It doesn't matter. I'm not attached to any position or to any organization. I'm attached to the idea that change is necessary, that a shift is happening and must happen, and it must be bigger than just a handful of people that are doing their part. Although I appreciate all the handfuls of people that have been working toward this time, all of that energy will go into creating the new world, to creating the new governance, to creating the new monetary system, which are only bridges to establishing the kingdom of heaven on earth, which is not going to be done this year, by the way, folks. For those of you that think that by the end of 2012, everything is going to be beautiful and wonderful, and there's not going to be any more problems to be worked out, we're going to have resolved all the issues, and everybody's going to be living in a paradise. Well, I do think that there will be significant changes still between now and the end of the year. Significant changes that mark a new direction for humanity. However, there's still an awful lot of people that need an awful lot of waking up and a lot of training and a lot of reconnecting with their inner selves and spiritual spiritual vitamins need to be applied so that the masses can literally awaken and come into a higher consciousness, and we can all exercise gifts and abilities and powers that have been latent within us. That awakening is not going to happen completely in 2012. It began over 20 years ago, 25 years ago. However, it's accelerated in the past 2 years. In 2011 and 2012, this is the time of acceleration. It's the no time we're in now. Beyond the 9th wave, beyond the 13th wave, it's a wave all of its own, and it's taking a year to commence this wave, because it was, remember, October 28th that was the end of the 9th wave, and 11/11 it was the end of the 13th wave, and we're coming up again on another 11/11. What will happen between now and then? What will happen between then and the 21st of December? I don't know, but it's certainly interesting times that we're living in, and I'll tell you, I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad to just be able to be a voice that's speaking to the significance of the spiritual awakening that's occurring around the world. It's a spiritual awakening that affects the political, the economic, and the corporate world that we live in, and it's dramatically changing. Rejoice for that. Namaste. Thank you for listening.